All right, let's talk about Channel Zero, Episode 4 of Butcher's Block. We're going to do a spoiler discussion on this. As usual, this episode is called Alice in Slaughterland. So I think we kind of already had an idea of how this was going to play out a little bit, just kind of a Alice in Wonderland theme thing going on here, and it definitely is. So, but in a great way. I thought this episode was fantastic. Anyway, let's jump into it immediately. Now, I had a root canal earlier today, so if I seem a little off, that's why I haven't been to bed in a couple days. But I'm not going to let that slow me down. So if you see me cringing in pain at all or something, you'll know why, because my tooth still hurts. And if I click them together, when I say S's, they kind of hit. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this episode. Now, this is the first time we see Zoe, like in the timeline. This is the first time we see Zoe losing it, like kind of falling into paranoia and or whatever is wrong with her, schizophrenia or whatnot. We don't know if this is the first time that Alice has ever seen this, or this is the first time Zoe's ever had a breakdown, but Alice seems to know that her sister is sick, but she seems very distraught. And this seems like it's the first time she's ever fallen this far. And I think what was a really good choice was to show the reactions of kind of the looky-loos, all the people that lived around the area. And I thought what that brought to that moment was the embarrassment of it, and just kind of the, it was so sad. Like to see like how they were acting, because at first they were kind of looking like there were some of them that were looking at her like she was straight up crazy, and then there was like this one woman who just looked just crushed by this, and the guy that she was accusing of like spying on them and stalking them, like his reactions of just being like, you can tell that he liked her, but but obviously wasn't all that savvy on her accusing and slandering his name like that. So there was just a lot of great emotional things going on in that scene that really made me feel it more than anything, in addition to Zoe breaking down and Alice trying to react to that and getting at her sister. It's a great scene. It's super well acted. It's super well shot. I loved that scene, as heartbreaking as it is. Then at the end of the last episode, we get to see Alice walking up to this door, and we don't get to see what's on the other side. That's, why we came back for this episode. Not like I wasn't going to go back anyway, but it was kind of like, oh my God, I need to know what's on the other side of that door. Now, of course, us having a week to think about it and wait and ponder it and speculate, I thought it was going to be like Silent Hill. When she goes into like the different part of that, where it's all dark and that's the way I felt like it was going to look. Like I started filling in those things, like this could be super fucked up on the other side of this door. And I was so wrong, and it was shocking in the moment. Like when she walked through, and there's just this beautiful field, like this long sweeping shot of this gorgeous scenery of her standing in a field of what looked like yellow freaking tulips, I think. It just was so beautiful and unexpected. I thought it was going to be dark and grimy and scary looking, and she walks through and it's just gorgeous. So I don't know, that was actually one of the most shocking moments in this episode, which as I said, I adored this episode. That was one of the main reasons. That was one of the many reasons. The scene where Luke and Luis are cleaning up at the back of the squad car after he shoots Robert Peach. Robert Peach, I finally got his name, thank you, in the comments. I did look it up after and be like, that's his name, thank you. But yeah, after he shoots him and they're cleaning up in the back, I cannot be alone in this. Like everyone instantly started thinking about Pulp Fiction, right? Like I thought at any moment Luis is going to be like, you're the motherfucker that should be on Brain Detail. I can't be alone in that. It was making me laugh. Now, there's a lot. God, there's so many things to speculate on here and try to unpack and theorize about. And a lot of it, I mean, pretty much throughout the entire episode. But yeah. So the first thing is Joseph Peach interacting with Alice. he says something like, something about a rabbit, and clearly a throw to Alice in Wonderland, which a lot of this episode is. This episode also reminded me of Labyrinth a lot, which is a lot like Alice in Wonderland as well. But it was giving me both of those, Labyrinth a lot, which is great. I mean, who doesn't like Labyrinth? But there's a few things that happen with Joseph that I found to be very intriguing and thought-provoking. And one was the fact that he was growing body parts. So they're not exclusive to just killing people and eating them. They actually have the ability to grow body parts. Now, these body parts are rotten. They come out of the ground. He's like, oh, I thought these would be better, whatever. So clearly there's something wrong with their soil. Maybe something's going on there that's poisoning the soil, and they're not able to grow crops. That's why they have to come out and try to get new flesh, because they can't live off of that anymore. Maybe they've been doing it forever and they do that as well. But another thing that I found that was really interesting about that was he and the guy who sang all the riddles both say that the landlord is a prick, and Joseph also says that he's growing those like by demand or whatnot, and I'm guessing that's from the landlord. And I didn't get the feeling that he was the landlord. So Joseph Peach, who I thought was in charge of everything, we find out that he probably isn't, and that there is someone on a higher tier that's kind of overseeing everything and making demands and being in control of things. And who that is, I don't think we've seen them yet. But I thought that's probably the biggest takeaway from this episode, as far as me being intrigued about the possibilities of the next 2 episodes. We only have 2 episodes left. But who is this landlord? And what is he expecting from this family? The fact that they're like out there in the fields and they're trying to get him his crops, and Joseph looks very upset that these crops didn't grow right. So this guy, I don't know, has control over him, scares him. I don't know. So I'm really, really curious on who this landlord character is. He says, stop running around like a rabbit. There it is. Okay. So, little throwback to Alice in Wonderland there, which the title of the movie. And Robert Peach ends up living for like a minute, and then they put a shovel through his chest and kill him again. And that was pretty obvious that he's going to come back. He'll probably come back again. These guys, I don't feel like they can die. And I don't know exactly where this field of tulips and her and the Joseph Peach house, the Peach House, where those reside. Are they in an alternate dimension, or are they in some kind of limbo, or are they in a hell, or are they in a I don't no clue where she actually stepped through to. So we don't know the what could and could not happen in there. She also takes steps through a doorway. There's multiple different doorways to take. We don't know if those are also within it, or an alternate dimension within those dimensions. Who knows? We clearly have no idea at this moment. But we see that Izzy is finally in this episode, the little girl that disappeared from episode 1. We finally find her, and we only see her for a moment, but she is not in the house. She's not part of the family. She's kind of just running around in the fields by herself, and she looks pretty dirty and covered up, and I don't know what that is, but it was interesting to see her, because I was finally oh, there she is. I've been waiting to find out where the hell that girl went since episode 1. I figured she'd either be dead or part of the family, but she's just kind of scavenging around out there. So I don't know what her role will be in a future episode, but it was good to see her again. Now we get this, her schizophrenia appearance has went away, and now we kind of have a different version of it. And this one has this big head mask on, and all of the whatever the hell was on the face, those little pop mark things, little pimple looking things, are gone. It looks like a healthier face, but it's on this elongated, thin, lanky, male-looking body who's wearing a community college shirt. I was trying to remember if that shirt had been seen in the other episodes, like if Zoe or Alice had worn it in a previous scene in the episodes. It felt familiar, so I was gonna go back and try to like scan through the episodes, like maybe in the first episode, like when they're getting ready for bed, like one of them's wearing that shirt, probably Alice, because this seems to be her own shit coming at her. But the shirt looked a little familiar. I might be wrong on that, but looking at it, I was trying to like look at it and it said community college of some sort, so I don't know what that is. But it definitely a different take on this thing chasing after her, and when it finally catches her, it shows her all these images, and then Joseph Peach comes up and stabs it and kills it, and it falls to the ground and starts bleeding out its head, and it starts turning like a different color. What all that means, who the fuck knows? But it was cool. It was creepy as shit. I really liked the mask. And the riddle guy giving her the choice to go through all three of these doors. We find out that one of them leads out back into the park from which she came. So that was like her, cue to leave. She could leave if she wanted to. That was like her opportunity to walk out first door, and she chose not to because she's in it to win it. She's there for her sister, and she ain't leaving without her. And then the second one, it was like space-time closing in on itself. It looked like there was this seam that was like open and ripped, and it was starting to like close itself. It looked like space and that. So I don't know what the hell that was. How she would have walked out there. I mean, would she have like instantly die because she was in space, or was that not space? Who knows what would happen if she walked through that door, but we don't see it, so she closes it. What the hell that is at all, as I said, who the fuck knows? And then the third, she walks in, and we see like these courthouse looking steps structure with these giant flies as like statues out there. Yet again, I mean, this is all just very cool imagery, creepy at times and whatnot, so it works aesthetically, but what it means, I guess, is as good as mine. Unless you actually already know and you're like, wait, you missed it, like, please tell me, because yeah, I'm always willing to listen. It's the whole point of this, right? And the fact that Zoe, like, because you think instantly, like, she's joined the family, she's a cannibal now, this and that, but she can't bring herself to eat anyone but herself. So she's not completely committed to this cannibalism. She just knows she has a hunger, and she'll only eat herself to satisfy her hunger. So that's an interesting character moment for her, that we know that she's not completely gone, that she does have some bit of morality and herself left, that she won't consume the flesh of another human being, only herself. Now, that doesn't make her perfect by any means, but she still doesn't want to kill anybody at this moment, so she's there. And when her sister comes in at the end, she's still there enough to be like, Alice, don't, like, I don't want you to be a part of this. You don't want this. Like, it kind of got that feeling of like, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done this. Like, this is horrible. You don't want to be one of these people. Don't drink that. You don't want to become a cannibal. You don't want to have the hunger that I do. You don't want to have to live here. You don't want to have to start eating yourself or eating other people. So you can see that there is something wrong there. Now, I think the other scene that really surprised the shit out of me was Luke's dad killing him. I mean, that's what it seemed like. I mean, he got his throat slit. And we actually kind of see a good throat slice here, as opposed to a lot of movies. Like, they cut their throat and like they're dead like in 2 seconds. And this one, he like pushes him into the grave, and it's gruesome, man. He's just bleeding out and choking on his own shit for a long time. That's more realistic. It's fucking horrible, but it was like, oh my god, they actually like they did a realistic throat slice here, throat slitting here. So I always like that. I was like, people get like stabbed in a stomach or something, or get and they die in like 2 seconds. It's like, that's not how that works at all. So it was good to see that. But yeah, oh my god, his dad turned on him, so his dad is part of this or whatever. Wow. So a lot to take in here, a lot to digest, and a lot to look forward to next week, which I guess we'll talk about that then. So leave your comments below. Tell me what you thought of this episode. As I said, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was extremely thought-provoking and pushed the story forward immensely, and opened up our minds to all sorts of different ideas that we didn't have before, and answered some questions and posed many more. So anyway, other thoughts, things I kind of missed out on. I do kind of just go off the cuff here, so there's probably things that I didn't go over that were extremely important, but those were the main ones that jumped out at me throughout the episode. So I look forward to talking about this with you guys down in the comments, as always, and until next week.